Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1242, written by Falklian. The Nuclear Aliens. Sometime in my mid-20s, around 2006-2007 maybe, my girlfriend, now wife, and I lived in a fairly crappy apartment complex. We were used to neighbors fighting, cops getting called, etc. Anyway, where we lived, our bedroom window faced east, so it was pretty typical that our room was flooded in sunlight fairly early in the morning. It also faced the parking lot, so we occasionally had to deal with the headlamps from people parking also lighting up our room. One summer morning, we both woke up to our room flooded in light. We're talking sun up over the horizon, no shadows in the room bright. Usually an indicator of us sleeping in. However, we both looked at each other and realized something was wrong. It was also intensely hot in our room. Looking at the clock, it was somewhere around 2 to 3 a.m. I immediately thought, we've been nuked. Hopped over the bed and grabbed my girlfriend to run to a safer area. As soon as we hit the hallway, the light went away. It didn't fade away or sweep across the room as if a car was parking or going by. It just went dark like a switch was flipped. I ran back into the room to look outside and saw nothing. Just a calm early morning. No cars, no sounds really. And maybe that's another indicator of something weird happening. We chalked it up to a car, possibly a cop, shining their searchlight around in the parking lot, which isn't an uncommon occurrence. We went back to bed and woke up to our alarm to a perfectly normal summer morning. Over the years, we've talked about that night every so often. We live near a military base as well as a nuclear power plant, so an accident at either is plausible. The main thing that makes us uneasy is the light and the intense heat. We both experienced it, and there's no way it was a car headlamp or even floodlights. The color was like sunlight, which is why we thought we slept in. Our room was flooded in light, no shadows anywhere. A typical car going by or parking let off less light, cooler in color, and not intense enough to warm anything. I'm a fairly analytical person. I don't tend to believe in things like ghosts, aliens, etc. But after that night, I'm leaning in two directions. We got abducted by aliens, or we witnessed a disaster and quantum suicide or immortality is why we're still here. Or it was some dumbass with a really bright light messing with us. Case notes are file 1242, The Nuclear Aliens. So very curious that your mind went to potentially nukes in this scenario. Heightened tensions in there somewhere, but I get it. You address the critical point, and one I haven't heard from other alien encounters, heat. Normally it's bright light, and that's that. Either they get abducted at that point or not, or don't remember it. But heat is almost never mentioned. That switch being flipped may be the point in time where you returned and where your memories were no longer tampered with. I always advise, with caution, hypnotherapy for people who've potentially encountered an alien. You may be able to glean suppressed information through that process. Or maybe it was a military test of some sort. There are weapons designed to make people feel extreme heat from a distance. Of course, doing so on random civilians would be extraordinarily illegal, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, does it? And now with the advent of documents being released and congressional testimony that aliens exist, it's funny because now that the government admits it, most people don't even care, or rather, I guess they don't believe it. I'm not entirely sure where I stand on that. I think it's an odd time to release it now. Why admit to it now, is the question. Bonus file written by KalasenZyphurus, The Unexplainable Growl at my aunt's house. I have an aunt whose house is supposedly haunted. Used to be a funeral home before another family turned it into an actual house, farming a surrounding cornfield. An elderly lady died tripping down the stairs. Members of my family have seen weird stuff there before, with the stairs and upstairs living room being hotspots. My aunts used to use it. My mother got really freaked out when she saw what she thought was my cousin go running up the stairs, yelled at her to not run up the stairs, and then my cousin popped out of the downstairs living room asking what's wrong. Now, personal anecdotes like this are highly fallible and subject to misperception. I don't expect anyone to believe me about the things I saw, but I saw an orb once, too big to just be dust, and it didn't follow my eyes like glare would. But there's a natural explanation of a big bug reflecting lamplight, and I just lost track of it. Could have been. Nah. The more interesting event was when my cousin was feeling particularly weirded out by her room, which is directly beneath the upstairs living room with all the activity, including that orb. I'm interested in these things from a scientific perspective, so I offered to sit in there with her and see if we can get something to happen. We go in, I ask anything there to do something. Nothing happens. I sat on the bed with my back to the wall, talking with my cousin for a bit. And then there's 2 knocks on the wall behind me. I even feel the vibration. We both hop up and check the adjacent room to see if someone else in the family was messing with us. Nothing. They're all on the other side of the house. Pipes, maybe. Cousin thinks I knocked on the wall, but I didn't. So we go back and see if we can get anything else. Nothing. Eventually, my aunt walks in to check on us. And right as she walks in, a distinct canine growl rings out from the center of the room. Both their eyes go wide. I'm processing what I just heard and ask if they both heard that. Yeah, the last family had a dog. So I don't know what that was. The obvious explanation of ghosts is there, but science is about gathering verifiable, repeatable evidence. Explanatory theories are only useful if they have predictive power. If explanation, then X will happen under Y conditions, and almost all attempts to prompt ghost activity either fail or have an existing explanation that the event can't be unraveled from, like the bug or pipe thing. But that growl was weird. 3 of us in different spots heard it from the center of the room. I can't think of an explanation other than a sound of a dog growl spontaneously generated from the center of the room. Or we had a simultaneous auditory hallucination. The most likely explanation from my perspective is I don't have a good natural explanation for what the 3 of us heard that day. Case notes for the bonus file. The unexplainable growl at my aunt's house. As a fellow science enthusiast, I understand how this must feel. If anything truly weird happens to me, I want to replicate it. I've tried so many times with the tennis balls that vanished. There's 2 that vanished. One when I was tossing it with someone else, and one where it just bounced and I never found it again. But I mean, I've bounced tennis balls countless times. I've thrown them countless times, and 99.9999% of the time, they're always where they should be. It's just those 2 times where they weren't, and I can't replicate it. I can't determine what the cause is. Maybe it is just like instability in the universe and there's no particular cause you can predict. But yeah, it never happens as I try to control the variables or reproduce it. It doesn't mean it isn't happening, of course, but it's so frustrating to not be able to definitively prove it because I can't reproduce the outcome. If I could, then I could record it and there'd be actual video evidence. That'd be amazing. So in this case, in this story, I can sit here and infer from all the countless stories I've read, the patterns ingrained into my brain now, that this is almost certainly an echo of a past life, or a ghost as most will say. Yes, even from dogs, I think they have spirits as well. I'm not sure about insects, I don't know where the cutoff point is, but I think to a certain level even animals are sentient and they have souls. Maybe it has something to do with a certain amount of intelligence that is required to play host to a soul, I don't know. But it does make you imagine all the horrors that take place in a slaughterhouse then. I'm sure there's a lot of haunted slaughterhouses if that's the case. Wouldn't want to work there. And now time for the facts of the day. Human teeth are the only part of the body that can't heal themselves. I think part of our eye as well can't. Generally, our body is able to heal themselves, and different approaches we can take as well with stem cells to inject the body with cells that can enable the body to use them to reconstitute an area or an organ or a part of skin and stuff like that. Stem cells are like this base template that can be used to do anything, almost. Pretty amazing. But yeah, teeth, I think they have some ways to infuse the enamel if you go to the dentist. Like the stuff you buy from the store, the toothpaste, I don't know if it really does anything. Maybe a little bit. But yeah, there are ways to repair it externally, but not through the body itself for teeth. So brush your teeth, and if you don't like flossing like me, get a water flosser so you don't have to drag a string through your teeth. My teeth are very close together, so I don't like doing that. It's very uncomfortable. But the water picket, that works fine. Just brush your teeth and water floss if you can. And the other fact that is a bit funny, Fruit Loops are the same flavor, no matter the color. And I swear that's not true, but it's true. Your mind infuses certain sensory inputs based on expectation, not always reality. It's a very important point to remember. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.